Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever you are tuning in from. This is the BS Buddies podcast. I'm your host, Joe. That's your host, Ian. Today, we are going to go back to 2 truths and 1 lie. We each got 3 lined up, ready to go. Ian, how are you doing?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I'll recount it again. I got smacked in the face at work by it was like a shelf thing that I was carrying. It wasn't bad, but it just kind of like bonked me like right here, and it clipped me like right in the eye socket, and now my eye just has that like soreness to it, and I just like every time I blink, I feel it. Like my eye felt really dry earlier. I put in some eye drops. I've been, and you know what? Just because it's freaking cold, we're gonna talk about the weather. It's 22 below right now, so it's really cold. I'm in an extreme cold advisory until noon tomorrow, and Joe is also cold.
It's negative
Very cold.
13 for me.
What an improvement, man! That's like a whole 9 degrees warmer. That's
Here, it feels like what it's supposed to feel there.
yeah,
Except you're negative 34 with wind chill, but
yeah.
that's enough weather.
That's our weather report. Back to you, Joe.
I'll go first with mine. I have them kind of grouped so they're similar. Some of these I think are really going to stump you, but I think some of my truths are going to be like, yeah, I know that. Like, you didn't have to put that in, but.
I made mine a little more challenging this time, and I'm going to say this one to anyone who's watching this right now and maybe just came from, oops, I didn't mean to bump my mic if you heard that. Smack. And salt your ears real quick. If anyone's coming from part 1 and I repeat some of those stuff that I did in part 1, it's not my fault. It's been several months since we did part 1, and well, as I've iterated in previous videos, I got a mind like a steel cage. Whistles if the wind hits it right. I don't know. I just picked random ones. Hopefully Joe doesn't remember them either.
I don't think I picked any duplicates, especially because I grouped mine together, and I don't think that I've had any of these groups. But because next week I will be moving into my house, I picked a moving one. Moving 2 truths and a lie.
Oh no. Oh, I'm screwed.
One is job related, but I mean, whatever. First one, I've moved 9 times in 8 years. I've lived in 3 states, and I've had jobs in 2 states. One of those is a lie.
Ooh. Oh. Oh.
This is perfect as well because, like, during a lot of this, you were in the Marines, so it's going to be hard for you to remember.
I'm going to say that this is some high class bullshit because I wasn't there, but just exacerbating my excellent long range memory. Let me just pull all the information out of there. Knowing what I know about geographical location, let me go on old computer there and look up a few things here. Oh God, I'm screwing with OBS. I better stop doing that. I wasn't trying to actually type. Stop! Don't put the thing back. What are we doing? I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna say the living in 3 states is the lie. Because if I remember correctly, your apartment was in Moorhead, not Fargo. So it technically would be this side of the red. Huh?
Final answer?
Don't ask me that. Don't ask
Okay.
me to lock it in. I can't.
Well,
I'm
okay.
never
We'll
scared
lock it
about
in for
anything
you.
in my life.
So, the moved 9 times in 8 years.
Oh,
Oh, nope, that's not the lie.
oh,
That's one of the truths.
I figured it was. I was like, that's the outlandish sounding
'Cause
one.
I
I
moved
was like,
I moved to Moorhead. Then I moved back home. Then I
I
moved
moved to
to
Moorhead.
Fargo, North
No.
Dakota, making that 2 states. Then I moved to another spot in Fargo. Then I moved to Moorhead. Then I moved to a different spot in Moorhead. Then I moved to Wisconsin. Then I moved to my current location, and within a week, make it 9 times in 8 years. The lie
Well,
was
now
having jobs in 2 states. I worked in Minnesota for a couple jobs. After my long-standing job, I went to UPS in Fargo, and then I worked at a different spot in Fargo before moving to Wisconsin.
This is horseshit. You know what? I don't feel so bad now about making some of mine tougher. Some of this is information I didn't even know. Was not present for. I only knew it when you had the place in Moorhead, and I
You
was
know what?
like,
You know
"Oh,
what's funny? During one of your breaks in the Marines, you came to one of my Fargo apartments.
did I?
Yep.
Did I?
You were going through some stuff then, but you did
Oh.
stop at one of them.
Oh,
You've been
I
to
remember.
You've been to both of my Moorhead ones when they were the 2 different ones.
Well, I was saying, I remember the Moorhead ones. I don't remember the Fargo one at all. That's.
It was like you
I
stopped by for like a night, like didn't stay overnight, but you like we rode
swung
in a car
through,
together to one of my places.
said, "Hey." All right. I'll believe you. I'll believe you on that one. God, I've been bamboozled on the first question. This is
I
nonsense.
thought you were gonna. I thought that one was gonna be the easy one for you. Like, yeah, you lived in 3 states. I know that.
Well, the way you made me think about that, I was like, okay, the 3 states one. That seems real easy because Minnesota, North Dakota, Wisconsin. Wait. What if he never went across the river? And then my mind started turning the gears, and clearly I was incorrect.
For those of you who don't know, the difference between Minnesota and North Dakota, between Moorhead, Minnesota, and Fargo, North Dakota, is like a 5-minute drive across the bridge, if that.
Across the mighty red. That's it. You can walk across that bad boy in like 2 minutes if you.
Oh, I'd longboarded across that like so many times.
Crossing state lines, breaking the law. It's funny. It's just a little body of water, and yet so many things can be illegal on one side and not on the other. Anyways,
Fireworks. Fireworks are a big one.
yeah, they are. Oh, it's not the good ones.
North Dakota and Wisconsin have the good ones.
All right, Joe. Well, you know what? I hope I stump you on this one now.
I think you stumped me on all of them the first time. I don't know if I got a single one right.
I swear you got the one.
I maybe got one right. You got 2 out of 3 for me last time, so.
I will see how we do going. We're not off to a strong start. All right, Joe. 2 truths and a lie. So I have been to Buckingham Palace. I have climbed a mountain in Alaska, or I have sailed across the international date line. Which, if you don't know what that is basically like you get the equator and then the 180 meridian, and like they meet, and that's like the international date line. That's where like you could sail from tomorrow to or from yesterday to tomorrow, and yeah.
So I still want to think about it for a bit, but the first one you said, I'm like, oh, that's lie easy, and then you said the Alaska one. I'm like, has he been to Alaska? I'm gonna say the last one is the truth, because I know that you were on ships and got stuck in Japan during COVID.
Indeed.
You know, I'm gonna go with my gut. The lie is you've never been to Buckingham Palace.
All right, well, Joe. So we have climbing a mountain in Alaska is the truth. That's true.
That's what
Although
I figured.
it's a bit of a stretch to say that because like I wasn't out there with like ice picks and hooks or
Yeah.
whatever climbing
I
up a chute.
figured it
But
was going to be like not like one of the 7 summits, but it was going to be a mountain you went up.
mountain is more like a big hill. I think it was like 3,400 some meters above sea level. It's called Donnelly Dome, and it's
That's a
when
great
you look
name.
at it, when you look at it, it's very unimpressive. Like you have a backdrop of like the beautiful jagged peaks and the snow caps, and then you just have like it's like this marshy ground, and then whoop, just this big old round dome. It looks like there's like a ball stuck under a carpet. Like it's all grassy. And we went up there and we hiked it when I was up there for training in the military. It's very beautiful up there, but climbing a mountain. The other truth is that I have in fact been to Buckingham Palace. I have.
I
I
feel like you would have
visited.
told me at one point in my life. It seems pretty significant.
Well, okay, I should been to Buckingham Palace and being inside Buckingham Palace are very different. I visited England back in, oh God, it'll be 3 years this year, 2022. I was there in 2022, and we went to London for a sightseeing day with the friends that I was staying with, and we got to go to Buckingham Palace when they were doing their changing of the guard because they have their guards like live in like a barracks that's like off the grounds or whatever. So then they do their little marchy doo dah, and they got the police all mounted up on horses, and then you get to watch them march by. So that was pretty cool. So I got to see Buckingham Palace. I didn't get to go in and like, oh yes, it's the Queen. Careful tea, some sugar in there. Well, I drink my coffee. No, with none of that.
I feel like you probably told me, and it was just like, oh, that's cool. And then like you told me about your whole trip, so that just kind of
And
blended
then it
in.
just
The
yeah. I mean, granted, to be honest, Buckingham Palace was like it was cool, but it was only cool in the way of like, huh, so this is a royal building for a country that we, seceded from how many hundreds of years ago? What do I care? Let's go check out and see if McDonald's is worth a hoot over here. Like,
the international dateline also kind of tripped me up because I'm like, that's not really where you were necessarily, but I figured maybe at some point you had crossed it.
we nope. That one is the when I was on ship for Japan, we mostly tootled around from Okinawa down to the South China Sea and then over to Thailand and then back to the South China Sea and then tootled back up and around Okinawa while we waited for the COVID regulations to allow us to pull into port. So we never went far enough east from Japan to get close to the international date line. Although I have heard there's a story floating around the internet somewhere of I think it was some sailor who was being rambunctious or a troublemaker or something, and he was like, "Oh, what are they going to do? Take away my birthday?" So sure enough, the captain of the ship, as they're sailing along towards the international date line, they waited until right at midnight on the guy's birthday, and then slipped across the international date line. Suddenly, tomorrow became yesterday, and they skipped his birthday. I don't know if there's any truth to it, but I like to imagine there is because it makes me chuckle. I figured that one would be a good loop for you because I was like, all right, well, the last one we talked about me being on the aircraft carrier. This one I gotta like slide this bad boy under the rug on him. You know what I
I,
mean?
I don't know if you've ever heard of the Sweet Life on Deck, but they had an episode where they were crossing the international day line and they got struck by lightning. I can't remember what happened, but like everything just went like nothing was
Haywire.
the same. Like people didn't remember each other or something. I thought that was a cool concept, but
That seems very what's the word? I'm erratic. I was gonna say erotic, and I was like, that's not the one that
that's not
I'm
good for a kid's show. We're gonna
wrong.
move
Sweet
on.
life.
This is this is involving video games.
Ooh.
I think this one's gonna be a little tougher for you. Um, I completed my first single player game, like front to back, one player, when I was about 17 years old. Like officially, like full playthrough on my own. 2,
Mm.
I've never played on a NES or a Super Nintendo in my life. 3, I've been invited to an amateur tournament for Rocket League. Not saying like online, but like in person.
Mm. Ooh. All right.
This one
Haven't
probably will be the toughest out of the 3.
single player game at 17.
NES or Super
N-
Super NES.
NES or SNES. I like saying SNES. It's fun. I got my SNES right down there in the box. I could pull that old bad boy. She's a little yellow from age, but she still works. And the amateur Rocket League. Ooh, God. I don't know how often you played Rocket League. That's the problem. I don't know if you were big. I never played Rocket League. I know myself, and I have enough rage-inducing games that I play daily. As I was telling you, I was just getting mad at Star Wars, the old one, because Galactic Conquest was making me angry. I'm gonna go.
Which one's a
I, do,
lie?
I don't know if I'm confusing you with somebody else, but there's a memory in my brain of someone telling me about how it was either you or your sister had maybe it was the N64.
You're also disappearing from your camera.
I'm phasing in. I'm thinking so hard. I'm phasing out of existence. Just give me a little bit. When I got the idea, I'll come back into perdition. Also, not the right word. I'm having bad luck with the words tonight, guys. Don't listen to anything I say. It's bullshit.
It's full set.
It's bullshit. That. I'm gonna say the lie is the NES or the SNES, because I feel like you had the N64 and you loved the N64. So the never played a NES or a SNES. Final answer.
I completed first single player game at about 17 years of age is correct. It's the hold on, I keep saying it wrong, but yeah, it's the truth. It was BioShock Infinite. I was such a multiplayer head, or I played games that didn't really have like an end. You just kept going.
And going.
So that
and
is
going,
the truth.
going like the Energizer Bunny.
I've never played on an S or SNES. That is true. I have never played on the console itself. I've been playing Rocket League since about 2015. I've never been
No.
invited to an amateur tournament.
Oh.
I've been playing on and off for almost 10 years now, and not that good. And what it doesn't help when I take like 3 years off of the game, but that's probably one of the best games I'm at. I am.
I thought for
at.
sure if you had the N64, then you would have had the SNES or like knew somebody who had one of them. But
Nope.
oh. And as far as Rocket League goes, I don't know, man. Like I said, I never touched the game. I got more sense than that than to try and hurt myself on that. And I just, I was like, yeah, I could reasonably see Joe. You were a multiplayer guy. I could reasonably see you being invited to an amateur and in-person tournament for that nonsense. But
Funnily enough,
last,
this past summer, I had a few teammates miss a baseball game because they had a Rocket League tournament that they had to go to. And then I was talking to a couple of the other guys who play on my team who have played Rocket League, and they're like, "Oh, I'm ranked this." I'm like, "Actually, I'm not. Like, I'm pretty up there with you guys."
I had slightly off topic, but on topic is I had, oh God, look at the light shining through my head. I got my lamp on back there. Oh, I got an idea. Ding. One of my friends recently, I'm making fun of him, so if he sees this, he'll know it's about him. He asked me to try Fortnite because there's a Five Nights at Freddy's mode that he says he thinks I would love. And
Knowing you, you would hate that.
I gotta be honest, buddy. Yes, one, I hate scary things. I hate getting scared. It freaks me out. I'm sure it'd be fantastic for streaming or making a YouTube career, but
If we were playing it together in the same room, I think it'd be awesome. But
I don't handle scary things well. But I just gotta say, to him specifically out there, if he ever sees this, I love you, buddy. I'm not getting Fortnite. I'm not. I tried it exactly one time, and the same thing that happens to me in all battle royales is I drop in, I spend a little time, I pick up some good stuff, and I'm like, all right, I think I got my goods. I can go on my way, and then I just get wiped out by some dude 3 miles that way who's got like a laser sniper rifle of some kind, and I don't know.
Fun,
I'm not into pop culture. I don't like battle royales. I'm a
funny
grumpy old man. I
story.
don't like battle royales.
A couple of weeks ago, I downloaded Fortnite for the first time in 6 years and won my first match. Granted, it was on the Switch, so like just not like I was probably playing 7-year-olds,
Yeah,
but
probably.
and
Yeah,
then
see,
yes,
I've never won a single game of like Modern Warfare's
Warzone.
Warzone. That's what it was, Warzone.
I've won one, but it was with a group of 4. I clutched up, and then they clutched up at the end.
Yeah, see, I
But
had friends who have gotten close. I think I've gotten all the way up to like second, but I don't. I won DMZ one time, and now I don't play Call of Duty anymore because I'm just like, you know what? No,
you
I'm past
peaked.
my prime. I'm past my prime. I can't play the way I used to, man. Can't.
But let's move on, though. We talk about video games enough. Which I
Yeah.
mean, granted, we could talk about it for like 2 hours, but
You should just keep on going with this. You got to splice this into 2 episodes. All right. This next one is military related again. See if you get it. Because I'm a boring individual who has nothing but his military service to to talk about. All right. So, number 1, I have had a lunch with the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. And if you don't know, he's like the top senior enlisted advisor to the general, the
I was
commandant
going to
of the
ask
Marine
you,
Corps.
what does that mean?
Yes, the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. It is the one. It is the special. It's like the tippy top rank. It's a special. There's only one Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps at a time. Only like there's lots of Sergeant Majors within the Marine Corps, but there's only one Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, and he's like the enlisted advisor to the Commandant of the Marine Corps. So like meetings with the president and all that. So I've had lunch with Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. I have drank from the Devil Dog Fountain in France, at Belleau-Wood, France, where the Marines earn their nickname Teufelhunden. There is a statue. It's like a fountain of a bulldog's head, and it has water that spits out into like a little pond area, whatever. And it is a tradition for Marines to make a journey over there, and then you drink from the Devil Dog head at the fountain in Belleau-Wood, France. And number 3, I had my first beer in Germany, which that's an appropriate place as ever as I can think of to have a beer.
Your
For when I
first
turned
legal
21.
beer?
Yes, by U.S. standards. If there's anyone out there watching from around the world, my first legal beer in Germany by U.S. standards. So I was 21. This is another good one.
I'm going to go with the lie. That's the Germany one. It's got to be a
Germany?
lie.
Is your final answer?
Yep, that's got to be a lie.
You are incorrect, my friend.
Okay, let me take another shot then.
All right, yeah, we'll take one out of there. Now you got a 50-50. It's a coin toss.
I think I'm still going to be wrong. In my head, I feel like if you had lunch with that person, it'd be with like a giant lunch with like a ton of Marines, and he would just happen to be there as well. So I think that's the truth. Even though the middle one, I hope, is actually the truth. Because that seems kind of cool.
Well, you are in fact correct. I have not drank from the Devil Dog Fountain in France. That is one of my eventual bucket list items, is to go drink from the Devil Dog Fountain in France. But Yes, I had lunch with the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. It happened when we were in Afghanistan. We had a General Neller, and it was Sergeant Major Green. Um, his nickname was Green Lantern. Because it's it's a running joke that there's no white or black in the Marine Corps. It's just light green and dark green. Well, Sergeant Major Green was a big dark green Marine, and he was a go-getter, super great guy. And when he showed up, he said, "Hey, I want to have lunch with all of the like lance corporals and below from every like section around. So like every section voted for one guy to go, one of their lance corporals to go and have lunch with Sergeant Major, and there was only like a handful of sections. So there's only like maybe six or seven of us in grand total. But I was the only lance corporal that was in the HIMARS section over there. So they basically came to me and said, "Hey Olson, hey big dog, you're gonna go have lunch with the Sergeant Major." What if I don't want to have lunch with the Sergeant Major? Well, that's too damn bad. You're gonna go have lunch with the Sergeant Major. And it was actually kind of cool because he went around the table and he talked to all of us. He was like, "Hey, where are you from? How's your mom doing? How's your dad doing? You got any siblings? What did you do back home? What it was like?" So that was actually kind of nice. You got to have like a one-on-one chat with him. And then the first beer in Germany, I turned 21 when we were in country, and obviously you can't have any alcohol when you're over there unless you feel like drinking mouthwash. But when we were on our way back, we had a layover in, I believe it was Spangdahlem. They have like an airport there where we had like a little layover. I think we were waiting for them to fuel up the plane or whatever. And so they came. They're like, "All right, listen, guys, everyone who is of age can have 2 beers." And so, there's like 25 of us. And we all just like flocked to the concessions. I think it was like 11:30 at night. These two poor baristas are back there and they're taking all our orders, and that's where it's the same. I went to the gift shop there and I actually got my little shot glasses. I got like 3 or 4 shot glasses of like Cologne, Frankfurt, Hamburg, and I think one more, just like little decorative ones. So I got to have my first legal beer in Germany. I always like to say that one. That's a fun little one.
Yeah, I figured because you said your first beer in Germany and then me having to correct you. I'm like, I feel like maybe that was a lie.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, like, listen, me, I'm a pure good soul. I would never, don't look at me like that, Joe. I would never break the rules and have beer before I'm supposed to. So, I had my first beer in Germany.
That's why I said lie.
uh, good
Anyways,
times, good times.
we're
Anyways, moving on.
we're off to the last section. I made it a travel section
Ooh.
for myself. You've been talking
Uh-oh.
about all your traveling, Buckingham Palace, BS, but um,
The Buckingham Palace BS. That's a title you could call it. Just
not a bad idea. Okay, I've touched both the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. I have seen 2 of the 7 United States 7 wonders. Been there. And my most visited state, travel wise, is Colorado.
I feel like this one's the most difficult one. What? I didn't even know the United States had a seven. Will we have our own seven wonders?
I figured it was to just see. I looked it up because I'm like, do we have it? And then like Britannica came up with 7. I looked through it. So it's like, okay.
Sven Sven wonders of the United States. Well, how about that? There is. There's Yellowstone, Grand Teton, Grand Canyon, Rocky Mountain, Mount Rainier. I guess national wonders. Olympic National Park, and Mammoth Cave National Park, largest cave system. Oh, You learn something new every day.
I figured if there was a 7 wonders of the world, there was someone made a list of 7 wonders in the U.S.
You're wording that very suspiciously, and I feel like it's to trick me into thinking this one's the lie. I don't know.
2 of 7.
All right. So we got 2 out of 7. Touch both oceans and travel into Colorado. Ah. Ooh. Well, no. You traveled Colorado to visit family, right?
Maybe.
Doesn't help me, Joe.
I will say the family you're asking about has lived in 3 different states. I will say Colorado was one of them.
I know you've been on like a family vacation down, way south. So I know for sure you've touched the Atlantic. I don't know if you've ever been out west and touched the Pacific. Unless there's something I'm forgetting about there that I'm just not sure about. And I didn't even know anything about the 7 wonders until I just looked it up. Oh God, this. You know what? Bing, pick a number 1, 2, 3. Number 1.
Number
All
1
right.
is the
What?
lie. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. What was number 1? Was that those 7 wonders,
Both
or was that the
oceans.
2? Both ocean. Yeah. You know what? Perfect. That fits my intuition. I'm gonna say that one. It's a lie because I'm not sure. All of these seem equally plausible and implausible. I don't know how to answer this question.
I know how to answer it. I hate Bing. Yeah, that's a lie. That's
Yes,
a lie.
I got one. I
I've
got the
touched
one.
the Atlantic 5 times. 2 in Massachusetts. 4 times. 2 in Massachusetts, once in Florida, once in Puerto Rico. Farthest west I've gone is Arizona. I visited that 4 or 5 times. Colorado, I visited about 6 or 7. And the 2 of the 7 was the Grand Canyon in Arizona and Rocky Mountain National Park in Colorado. Don't be dancing. You used a computer to win.
Yeah. I wish I could pull up my screen for you right now. I literally said, you know what? Shit.
Don't do this.
I did it, guys.
Yeah. Your background says
just
no.
Covers everything. I literally just typed in and it popped up the number generator and it was like 1. Woo! I had a hunch, all right? This is my hunch anyways. If it had picked another number, I don't know if I would have went with it, but
I've never been on the West Coast.
Look at that. All right, baby. 1 for 3. I'll take them odds. That's 33%. I'm doing fantastic. All right, Joe. Well, you know what? I think you might be able to get this last one.
I don't think so.
Because, well, I've told you about some of the vacations I've taken with my family. When we go camping and all that. So we'll just jump right into it. Number 1, I have been fishing in Canada. I made this one traveling related again, but more vacation stuff this time. Number 2, I have swam in the Boundary Waters. And number 3, I have been ice fishing out on a lake. And I caught a fish. And he spit the hook and he went to go fall back down the hole. And I snatched him out of midair. Because I'm dexterous. I'm fast. Got reflexes like a cat. Rare. I regret ever doing that. That's on the internet forever.
The first one was You did what in Canada?
Fishing.
Just fishing.
Yep, fishing in Canada.
I gotta say the third one is a lie, because I'm pretty sure you've talked about fishing in Canada once, and then Boundary Waters you've definitely talked about with me.
Is
Because
that the final?
I think that's like a Minnesota staple. Like, you gotta be baptized in the Boundary Waters. Like, you need to go to Itasca, because I've been there at a young age.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Well, Joe, is that the final answer?
Well,
You
that's
locking
gonna
that one
have to
in?
be, because the other two, as you were reading it, I'm like, that's true, and then you read the third one, and then I'm like, eh.
Well, unfortunately, the lie is that I have been fishing in Canada.
I
I
thought
have
you had a
never.
story about fishing like in a canoe in Canada.
I've I've been very close to Canada, and in fact was on one of the Boundary Waters. What's it at Voyageurs National Park? It's quite
Yep,
literally a boundary
Voyagers.
water. Yep. It's the lake. When we went out to the campsite, it was an 11-mile boat ride. And if you look to your left, the one shore was America, and you look to the right, the opposite shore was Canada, and the line was in the middle of the lake. But we couldn't cross it because if you cross that line and then you try and come back and they catch you, then it's a whole lot of problems. So we had to stay on the American side the whole time. So I have never been fishing on the Canadian side, but I've been fishing on the American side, and I did take a little swim while I was up there too, and the Itasca and all that nonsense. And the ice fishing one, I wanted to make that one super specific, just so that partly to seem suspicious, but partly of like, okay, there's no way he couldn't be telling the truth because we were out on, I think it was either Black Duck or Red Lake, one of the two. And we had gotten a pike on the rattle reel, and as I was pulling him up, I got him up into the house, and I turned to go, "Look, guys, I got one!" And he spit the hook out right there, and he nose dived. He was going right back for the hole, and literally out loud, I went, "No!" And I reached down, and I managed to snatch him by the head before he hit the water, and I was like, "I got it!" And then that was the talk of the fish house for the night, is how I managed to snag that pike before he went bloop back down the hole. And I thought I'll throw this one in here as like a super specific one. So I mean you weren't wrong in that I've been fishing close to Canada, but never quite crossed into the border of Canada. We don't like dealing with all them Mounties, eh? They come up to you in their canoes on top of their horse on the canoe on the water, and they're like, "Hey, what are you doing on my side of the lake, guy?" Do you like my Canadian?
For me, 1 for 6 in these two videos is good for baseball. That's a good baseball number. Good enough.
Well, I didn't
That'll
do, I
keep you
didn't
in
do
the
very
league.
good this time. It's all right. You can outpitch me anyway. It's fine. If I consider getting the ball from the mound to the catcher good, I'm pretty sure you can outpitch me. As long as I can even make it there, I'm happy. Like, wow, I managed to throw the ball that far. That's pretty impressive.
We haven't played catch since high school, I think, and that needs to change.
I'm gonna miss, and it's gonna like
I
hit me in the face, man. My hand-eye coordination has just suffered terribly over the years. Ignore the story of the fish. My hand-eye coordination has suffered terribly over the years.
That's honestly partially why I'm like, no, there's no way he caught a fish like that. There's no way.
Thanks for the faith you had in me there. He's seen me in action. He knows what it looks like in person. That's why everyone else was so surprised too. I have my moments. I have my moments. They're not often, far and few between, but that's what makes them all the more special when they happen. That's why I cherish them.
Oh, I'm looking up quotes. Quotes to end the episode. I used to have a lot of them saved. I probably have one random one saved somewhere, but I cannot remember. Oh, perfect. It's Martin Luther King Jr. Day as we're recording this. Ooh, good quote by the man himself. We must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools. I hadn't heard that one before.
Perish together as fools. That one's really there to make you think, make you scratch at the old noggin a little bit. Here's one by William Wirt, 1772 to 1834. Seize the moment of excited curiosity on any subject to solve your doubts, for if you let it pass, the desire may never return, and you may remain ignorant.
And with that, thank you guys for watching or listening to the episode. Subscribe to become a bud today.
Finding out a little bit more about our lives and some of the nonsense that we have gotten up to and how little we really know each other.
Yeah, that too. But thank you for BSing with us today, and we will see you next time when I get you in to play either Fortnite or Rocket League.
Neither one of those things will happen. I don't need to be angry on camera. Again. I'm going to go take it easy now. You should too.